let's get in the management of EIL on the show. Vartika Shukla, she's the chairman and managing director of EIL Johnson right now on the show. Ms. Shukla, good having you. Thank you so much for taking the time out. And at the outset, I'm wishing you a great, very strong Q4. I wonder if the recent order wins would vindicate the street's belief on it being a quarter wherein order flows have picked up for a bunch of companies by and large in India and for your business as well.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure for us to be here on your show.
Thank you.
The Q4 is more on conversion of the existing projects into completion, and the efficiencies brought into the organization for converting these inflows which happened a few years back into turnover is going to happen in Q4. And we hope that the Q3 results that we had with good margins are going to see, continue in the Q4 of this financial year as well. With regard the order inflow, as you mentioned, which has happened over the last, January onwards at a faster scale, is going to be realized in the next financial year and the years after that, with a blend of projects which are going to see completion at a shorter time cycle of 12 to 24 months, and some with a longer time cycle of about 3 to 4 years.
Okay. So, Ms. Shukla, and of course, I know you can't talk too much about Q4, so we'll leave that out because you might be in a silent period. We'll, of course, talk to you post your numbers are out. But maybe you can give us some color about the quantum of order flows in Q4 and the nature of order flows, because they do seem to be higher, much higher than the same period last year. So what segment is getting these orders? What's the nature of these order wins? And is this a year-end phenomenon because the government upheld the capex targets in the budget, and therefore it was expected that Feb and March would have strong orders? One would love to know if, in your belief, the pace of ordering might continue well into the April, May, June quarter as well, or no?
So actually order inflows in our business, the line of business that we are in, both domestic and international, are not exactly timed, one would say, in the last quarter of the year or something. It is an outcome of the concerted efforts of all our teams at all levels who are reaching out, bidding well, bidding competitively, and winning them. So let me give you some numbers on this.
Sure.
Last year, we did an order inflow of about 3,400 crores, which was a blend of about 50-50 in the consultancy segment, where our margins are upward of 20%, and our LSTK segment, when now margins have improved from 2 to 3% to 5 and 6%, if you see our results of the last quarter. This year, as we close, and we are still some more days to go, we have an order inflow of just the consultancy segment of about 4,150 crores. And in the that is in the hydrocarbon sector, and a total inflow of orders in the consultancy segment of about 4,600 crores. And in the turnkey segment, where we largely do cost plus model, so we don't leverage our company onto putting these LSTK projects on stream, but we do a cost plus model largely, and our inflow in that segment today is about 4,000 crores. So a total of about 8,400, 8,500 crore, roughly speaking, is the order inflow, which is a very, very robust sign of the, the projections of turning this into good growth in both the top and bottom line in the next financial year.
Well, actually, ma'am, that is quite stunning to know, and I should have done my homework before asking you on this. But if I'm understanding this correctly, you're saying that FY24, the inflows were to the tune of 3,400 crores consolidated at both segments. This year, you've done what, northwards of 8,000 crores of order flows. So, and is that correct? And therefore, I'm trying to think, is the execution timeline really spread out onto this spate of order wins, let's say on average, that you've bagged in FY25? Or do we see a very dramatic jump up in execution and revenues, therefore, for FY26 and 27?
Definitely. I mean, in one way, I'm good you didn't do your homework because I have an opportunity to put it out first. But the good thing is that the recognition of our services, particularly in the engineering services internationally, has borne fruit, which has been steadily upward. Like, let's just look at our Abu Dhabi office. We were about 32, 33 crore of inflow 3 years ago. Then we did 100 crore, we did 150 crore, and today we are upward of 950 crore as we close this year. So this is the recognition of our delivery, which has happened because of our processes, our excellence, our 60-year decade of contributing into the oil and gas sector, and largely overseas business. The inflow of the consultancy is from overseas business and mainly into hydrocarbon sector. Now, look at the other in order inflows that we have had today. We have an inflow of our total order, about 38% from the infrastructure segment, which is essentially the top layer of the work that we execute in academic campuses, in data centers, in those kind of auditoriums. That is the segment that we work on in the infrastructure, and the industry and the end customer has realized that what EIL brings on the table is good quality, good execution skills, extreme care in knowing what the customer wants, so very, very customer focused, and end-to-end delivery, full responsibility as a single point contact for execution. So these are the positives which have actually resulted in an inflow, which is a hard work of last 2-3 years.
And which is amazing to know, but therefore I'm still trying to understand the crux of my question, which is that does all of this get executed in the next 12 to 18 months, or is it an extended timeline?
So it's a split of the two. The part wherein the schedules are about 24 months, we would have about 20 to 25%, that will be executed in about 18 to 24 months. But the oil sector or the petrochemical sector that we are executing in India, totaling maybe a capacity of 2 million ton ethylene production, about 1.5 million ton of polypropylene production, these are going to take longer cycles. So if you blend the two and you see the impact on the financials of our organization, we definitely see the top line that we've maintained at around 3,200 as a result of the previous years will jump up not less than 25% in this coming financial year, while we will maintain our improved EBITDA as well as improved PAT positions, which is just a resultant, to the level of what we have shown in the last quarter by way of our execution capabilities, where we make sure our client gets the delivery fast, as well as the internal processes of excellence which we have put in place.
Good morning, Ms. Shukla. This is Hiral on this side. So what you're saying, let me just reiterate that. You're saying your margins is something that will improve. You will maintain turnover of last year. So does that mean that 13 to 14% is the kind of margin profile that you're expecting for full year? And because if I look at the first 9 months, we're still in that 10 to 11% kind of a range.
Right, right. So this year we are not going to obviously realize on our books, on our turnover, the execution part of the inflow that has come. The growth on the top line is seen in the next financial year, while we maintain our 11% at the bottom and 13, 14% EBITDA for last quarter into this complete financial year and moving forward in the next financial year as well.
Okay.
I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, yes. And the second part to my question is the expansion that you're looking in terms of your defense production. How big and material is that going to be from here on, and to what extent are you expanding your footprint?
Okay. Hiral, defense is what you spoke, if I'm not wrong?
Yes, yes.
All right. So we were fortunate enough to get a project for the defense sector last year. And this is work in progress. We realized that as a country, to make sure that our position is strengthened, aligned with the Government of India vision of our Honorable Prime Minister, we need to strengthen self-reliance and indigenous production. So what we are doing is we are working in the sector we are best at, which is the chemical and, the basically chemical-oriented process unit sector. And therein, we are in dialogue with the stakeholders for expanding our base in the defense sector as well. We made a very good breakthrough last year because of the skill set that we carry. And we are hopeful. I will not be able to divulge exactly where the dialogues are, but there are ongoing dialogues in many of these new age sectors, many of the sectors where we see traction today. We see nuclear, we see the bill coming up. There is opportunity there as well for us to be present. So this is all work in progress, and we really hope that next financial year, and I'm very confident that we'll have some one or two very marquee, very niche areas which will enter additional to what we are doing in this coming financial year.
Okay. My last question to you from my side is in terms of your consultancy segment. Now, the profit is approximately around 20%. However, the shift that you're making towards turnkey projects, that is what is actually impacting your blended margins, right? So taking that churn into consideration, how confident are you of that 13 to 14% kind of a margin scale? That's number one. And two, if you're looking at a 4,000 to 5,000 crore run rate in your consultancy order intake, how does the breakup come in terms of your revenue contribution?
So one should look at it this way, and this is how we have strategized, that if an organization like ours, who has a value to put on the table and value to create for our end customer, restricts themselves to a particular sector, there are always cyclical impacts in its financial, both the order inflow as well as a result, its financial position. Now, for a company like ours, it's important that we keep our manpower engaged. And we also pick areas and pick segments where our margins are good and the value is realized. So this is how we have created our strategy, which is the order book itself is reflective of that strategy, and it will, play very well as we go along, because all these jobs are, even if they are won competitively, even if they are international, they are at a very good margin. And if you see the competitive environment that we have today in India, in domestic sector as well as international sector, overall, consultancy segment margins are at a position where you need to compete and you need to kind of squeeze them in. So there is overall, if you see our results and if you compare them with other competitors, I think we've done very, very well in terms of maintaining our consultancy margin upward of 20%.
Yeah. Ms. Shukla, I have one final question. You must be setting out a vision for how you want, where you want EIL in the next 2, 3, 5 years. The issue has been in the past that it's been, I wouldn't say chalky, but kind of stagnant, right? For the last 4, 5 years, the numbers have been pretty stable on the margin, not on the margin front, but on the top line front. Do you reckon that with the increased order inflow, with the focus that you're talking about all through this conversation, that from where you are or where you were, let's say in March 2024, you could be a predictable trend, linear trend higher over the next 5 years?
Oh, yes, most certainly.
So you do 25% in FY20, yeah. Sorry to cut you, but just saying, no you problem. Do 25% growth in FY26, whether it's 25 or 20, the number is debatable, but for the next years, but you show a linear trend for the next 3 to 5 years.
Yes, and it also depends on, as we go along, how we enter into even newer sectors. So how we grow both horizontally and vertically. So to say that we will just be linear may not be true. We may even have upward of a linear trend as we go along in the next few years, because we've strengthened our position in terms of delivery, in terms of the expertise, far more than we have done. We've repositioned ourselves, and we need to. As a corporate of a consultancy segment, today's energy transition, what's happening in the world, we need to actually be a very major stakeholder in all these investments which are going around. So this is a very solid ground that we've built in. And as we project as part of our corporate planning, the next 5 years, they are going to be very good in terms of inflow as well as execution.
Ms. Shukla, I don't usually share this, but it is a pleasure, absolute delight to be talking to you. More power to you, and may you take EIL to greater heights. Thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.